Still stay with President's 120-day in office, and we're joined on the phone by governance expert Dr. John Osae Kwapong to glean further from him what he makes of the President's 120 days social contract. Doc, thank you for your time and welcome to NewsFeed. Hello, Doc, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Right.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Good afternoon, and thank you for your time. Now, 120 days in office, what is your initial assessment of the government so far?
Overall, I believe that the president is on the right track, both within the context of his 120-day social contract, but even overall, right from the beginning through his inaugural speech, his SONA, as well as the first budget of his government. I've been saying regularly that I believe the president is trying to make sure that his second presidency looks very distinct from the first, based on insights gained, lessons learned from his first term. And so I believe he is trying to put the government and economics on the right footing. Yes, it's still early days, and with time, that is when we would see the full impact of his policies and programs. But my overall initial assessment is that he's placing his government on the right footing within these 120 days.
Right. Now, some of the things he said he would do include looking at some disturbances we've seen, including the Ayawaso West Walk-on issue, Galamsey, ensuring that things are done better in that regard. But that hasn't been the case. And how do we assess him based on some of the key things that he has had a problem solving? So,
for me, that is where his address to the nation in providing that update will be very critical. The things that he has been able to do within that 120 days, yes, it's easy to check those off. Now, the ones that haven't been done, I believe the onus is on him to make sure he can explain to we, the citizens, as to the current state of it. Maybe they've started, maybe it's still in process. Whatever the state is, I think it will be very important to explain to Ghanaians the current status of the unfulfilled part of that, because most of the time what happens is that, yes, you would get the kudos for the things that you haven't done. For the things you've done, but it is the things that you are yet to do that can chip away at the confidence and the trust that citizens have reposed in you. But I believe that if you are able to provide an update and explain the current status of the undone things, you'll be able to maintain whatever political goodwill that so far citizens have reposed in you.
Right. Let's look at posturing and then his appointees as well. He himself has been very vocal on some things, corruption. He recently launched the Code of Ethics, among other things. His posturing so far, some thought that with the declaration of assets, he should have sacked his ministers, those who failed to, go by the rule, rather than suspend their salary for 3 months. You think so far he has been, strong enough to call his appointees to order if they are going contrary to what he expects?
Yeah. So on the asset declaration part, and have those who didn't meet the first deadline that he set, for whatever the reason is, whenever you are applying sanctions, you can apply it, in graduations, right? So yes, maybe the ultimate sanction is relieving them of their positions. But if you can approach it in a graduated fashion, which is have them forfeit salaries, and then on the new deadline, if you are still unable to declare your assets, that ultimate sanction must happen. Yes, I would have preferred a more forceful sort of example of ensuring that, you set that tone that says, look, I really believe this thing is really important. Declare your assets, and if you failed to have declared it by that first deadline without a reasonable excuse, impose, much heavier sanctions But again, if the 3-month salary is a first step, that's fine. I just hope that even for the appointees themselves, right, that you would want to accord the president that compliance, right? Why do you even want to put your president in a situation where citizens can ask, why are you not complying with a directive that he has issued? So the burden for me is also on the appointees to quickly comply. And for me, the new deadline that he has set, if failure to do that, he himself has said, consider yourself no longer part of this government, that sanction would apply after the deadline that he set.
Right. I want us to look at his ministers proper and your general assessment of them, and then we can look at one or two of the ministries in particular. Are you impressed with the 60 or so persons who are currently running our government?
So, I mean, if you look at the persons that have been appointed to key ministerial positions, other state-owned enterprises as well, I mean, for me, I defer to the president's judgment in terms of he knows why he has picked particular persons to head particular places. The one place, though, that I was maybe disappointed would be too strong a word, but I was hoping that the person would still remain was the Ghana Statistical Services, because of the really good work that Prof was doing. But again, the new government statistician has the pedigree, also has the experience, and so I believe that the good work that GSS is doing will continue. My overall assessment, though, is that the key would be all the different policies and programs that President Mahama's government would implement. It is the difference that it would make in terms of improving governance, addressing socio-economic challenges that would make a difference. Now, for me, with that, it will take time. So maybe in another year, when these programs and policies start bearing fruit, or otherwise, is when you can have a more fair assessment as to whether the team that he has put together is the team that would enable him accomplish all of his governance, economic, and social goals.
Okay, I have to let you go, but before I do, quickly your thoughts on, you mentioned the Statistical Service, for example, the removal of the boss and the replacement. We've seen that across board in related government agencies where all those who were appointed by the MPP are being removed, even though most have climbed through the professional ladder to get to the, ultimate position. As a governance person, how do you think we should tackle this, which appears to be becoming part of our political, being?
One of the things that we can do is to go back and look at the the Transitions Act, because I know that one of the concerns that emerged with this incoming government was that certain appointments were made after December 7th election. I argue that the process of governance doesn't stop because we've had an election. But if there are things that we believe we shouldn't commit to in the transition period because it places an undue burden on an incoming government, then we have to go back, revisit the rules, and see the modifications and the changes that we need to make in that arena. Because what you don't want is a turnover election also resulting in a disruption of not just governance, but how your administrative agencies also work. And I'm hoping that we will be able to fix those things so it doesn't become a pattern. There are certain places that we all agree that, a new government comes in and a minister, a deputy minister has to turn over. It is the extent to which we want to go in also creating changes in the bureaucracy that I find a challenge that we need to address because of the potential for interrupting both administrative processes as well as government.
Right. Thank you very much. Dr. John Osae Kwapong is a governance expert talking to us about the president's 120 days in office.